On today's Locked On Senators, Belleville is going to the Calder Cup Playoffs.
And we have the man who scored the goals to clinch to get them there. Egor Sokolov joins the show.
Really looking forward to that conversation. Plus, the Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. We'll break that down and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 1029 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Go to FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where we say hello and let you know that a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today is Monday, April 22nd, and Pilsy, all is right in the world. The Senators organization will be seeing playoff hockey.
Thank goodness. I mean, the Belleville Senators have made the playoffs before, but it was in less than ideal circumstances. Ross, I'm feeling a lot better about this time, and getting to watch the NHL playoffs start and 16 other fan bases get excited and feel the passion and the energy that playoffs brings. Obviously, we'd want the Ottawa Senators to be in that situation and be at the CTC with the barn rocking, but a close second is the CAA Arena rocking, and I will be going to Game 1 on Wednesday for the Belleville Senators playoff debut.
Going to be an absolute blast, Pilsy. I'm jealous of you there, and hopefully they can keep the same momentum that we've seen in the NHL playoffs so far, where all 6 games, 12 teams that have played at home have won Game 1 of their series. No road dogs just yet. It's just all these home cooking meals are coming out on the ice, and I got to see it last night. We'll wrap up with the NHL chatter after we get to Egor Sokolov, but we got to get into how Belleville made this playoff push. Down a goal going into the third period against Laval, power play with under 10 minutes remaining, and Egor on the one-timer. You'll hear him discuss kind of the ins and outs of the coaching of it. We'll hold on for that, but my goodness, even when they tied it, you knew that Laval was going to push. They did. Yep. They pulled the goalie in a tie game because if Belleville got any points, they were eliminated. So it was similar as we saw with Philly in the NHL, where you need 2 regulation points and your opponent cannot get any for you to have success. So I was nervous, but what do? Huge defensive play. They come the other way and they put the puck in the net. I think more so than anything is the atmosphere at CAA Arena. Like, that was like nothing we had ever seen before. And we've spent some nights in that building.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those nights, Ross. Unfortunately, Sens fans were all too familiar of this. Whenever Leafs or Habs are playing the Sens, you get a lot of their fan base in the arena. And Egor was saying there was a large crowd of Laval Rocket fans in the CAA Arena, and he wanted to make them pay not through rough stuff, not through fights, not through physicality, but through scoring goals, and he gets both the goals. And it's nice, Ross, that he scored that empty netter just to put it to bed. Like, they wouldn't have had to play a meaningless overtime period. Just, nope, I'm getting the empty netter. Night, au revoir, goodbye, Laval Rocket fans.
So Game 1 is Wednesday night at CAA Arena. Game 2 at the Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto. I don't even know if I mentioned yet. They're playing the Marlies. We got a Battle of Ontario on our hands here. The 11th, 12th, and maybe the 13th time this season that they'll go head-to-head. Game 3 would be Sunday, April 28th, next Sunday at 3 p.m. That sounds like a great road trip bowl game from Ottawa, but maybe it won't even be necessary because it all starts Wednesday in Belleville, 7 o'clock. And just looking at the roster now with guys healthy, guys coming back, Angus Crookshank is expected to be ready for game 1 of the playoffs. Word is that he will practice today and that he should be good to go. You put him back in the lineup, and now all of a sudden, this is a 4-line deep team. I know Toronto's got talent too, but I like Belleville's chances.
Ross, especially if they get the Mad Sogard of late. Mads could be the kind of turning point of this series. Like if they can get a Mad Sogard that's confident, that's been playing well all year, plus all that depth up front, this team could do some major damage. So I'm so excited to get things going here.
Winner of this series will get to play the Cleveland Monsters, who are waiting for a best of 5. So the first round in the Calder Cup playoffs, or it's almost like round 0.5, because then there's still 4 full rounds afterwards. So maybe we should put an asterisk with making the playoffs here, Pilsy. They got to beat Toronto, or otherwise we're doing the same song and dance that we did 2 years ago when they lost to Rochester in 2 games.
Ross, unfortunately, we are Senators fans, and we have to have that bar a little lower than usual. So the bar is set at making this series. So we've made this series. So once we win one of these 0.5 playoff series, then we can set the bar at making it normally. But for now, let's start with this.
The Belleville Sens have never won a playoff game in franchise history. They made it once, and they were out in 2 games. Now, asterisks, they were in first place during the COVID-shortened year. They had a wagon from Joey Decore to Drake Batherson to Josh Norris to Eric Brandstrom to Christian Wolanin, AHL all-star defenseman. Like Rudy Balsers was up there in the mix. And Michael Carcone, now 20-goal scorer in the National League. But now it's a new era of Belleville Senators. I'm excited to see it. Billsy on the back end, no Dylan Hetherington, but that just leaves even more opportunity for a guy like Tyler Clevin to step up, grab the reins, and say, I'm ready to be a leader on this team on the ice. I want somebody to print out the trade between Toronto and Ottawa at the draft and all the comments that said, I'm obsessed with us getting these small Finnish players in exchange for that lumbering defenseman. We want it. Well, guess what? Both those players play for the Marlies, so I want Clevin to know exactly what those fans over on that other side, what they thought. What do you think of the trade now?
Yeah, I mean, it would be poetic justice if the K train found one of those guys in the trolley tracks and laid a good hit on them.
You know that Coca-Cola Coliseum is right on the main train track.
True. So, it's choo-choo. Let's go.
Choo-choo. There you go. All right, let's get to our interview with Egor Sokolov. We got into a lot with him. Just a great guy, and you can tell how passionate he is. I looked up a quote. Wayne Scanlon wrote an article right after the 2020 NHL draft, and he reached out for a comment, and I replied. I said, I think what makes Egor so likable is that it feels like he likes the Sens as much as we do. Like he's just a diehard fan, passionate as hell. You saw it come out on Friday night. If you missed it, go check out the highlights all over social media. Just type in Egor Sokolov. You don't have to go far, but like that to me, I can see how some people be like, oh, it's showmanship, blah, blah, blah. That's a guy who's been there for 4 years and never won a playoff game. And he feels like this group's special. So I think that is a perfect time and opportunity to just go full WWE. And Egor went and took full advantage of that.
Yeah, and like he mentions, like he wasn't being disrespectful to Laval. He wasn't, saying anything to them. He was just doing his thing. He was fired up to win at home and to go to the playoffs. Nothing wrong with that. The game needs more emotion. And you know what? The game needs villains. I love that Egor is a villain in Laval. Like they gotta watch him when he's over there, and he's probably going to be a villain up against the Toronto Marlies. So that's what we love to see. He's a hero in our eyes.
Let's get to that chat. Here's Belleville Sens forward, the Coaches Award, as handed out by David Bell. It's our friend of the show. It's Egor Sokolov.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Policy Genius. It's the leading online insurance marketplace, and it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and provide your family with that safe feeling. Policy Genius helps you compare options from top companies, and they got a team of licensed experts that are going to help you through it. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. You can easily click through all different top insurers, and in a few clicks, you can find the options that are best for you. Look, your work-life policy, it might not be enough to cover what your family needs, and you don't want to see this, but it might not come with you if you leave your job. So Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Shawarma Palace. I woke up with hot sweats the other night, cold sweats, dare I say. And I was thinking about Shawarma Palace. I was going through withdrawals. I hadn't had Shawarma Palace in a few days, and that to me is frankly unacceptable. When I ever need to have an amazing meal that will fill me up and fuel me up, I make sure to head to Shawarma Palace, because at the Palace, you're always treated like royalty from the moment you step foot into their great restaurants, whether you're going to the enormous location in Orleans or you're going to the OG location on Rideau Street right by Chapel and Augusta. You're always among friends at Shawarma Palace. You're also always going to eat delicious food, whether you're getting the pita wrap or getting the falafel sandwich, or you could get the platter. We like the platters. Dare you to eat it all at once. The Shawarma Palace platter is full of all sorts of nutritious and delicious foods. Like you get the white rice, you get the fresh salad, you get the potatoes roasted with garlic sauce. It's all delicious at Shawarma Palace. Don't forget the hummus. Don't forget the chicken. Don't forget the garlic sauce. It's all in there with the Shawarma Palace platter. So go visit them today at any of their locations all across Ottawa. Also available on Uber Eats. So make sure you go check them out. Uber Eats Shawarma Palace. It is the most delicious, best food you can get in Ottawa. So go check them out today. Shawarma Palace. Go eat like a royal. Go eat at Shawarma Palace. All right, here he is, Egor Sokolov. All right, we now welcome one of our best friends of the show. I feel like I have to do a WWE intro after the electric celebration at CAA Arena last weekend. Egor Sokolov ties the game, and that's all Belleville needed to make the playoffs. But why not go out and put an exclamation mark on it? Empty net goal with seconds left, and now the star of the show joins us. He's a part of a Belleville Sens team that will start their playoffs Wednesday against the Toronto Marlies. It's Egor Sokolov. Welcome back to the Locked On Senators. How you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. Doing great. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be back.
It's always a pleasure. Egor, this is your 6th appearance on the show. We've loved every one of them. You're in the top 5 now, alone in a top 5 spot in guest appearances. It's been great following your career. You're the all-time games played, goals, assists, points in Belleville Sens history. How much did all of those years, those 3-3s, the travel, all kind of come out in the emotion that we saw that you guys clinched not only a playoff spot, but ultimately you're getting home ice advantage too?
Yeah, I mean, you saw me, right? I went kind of a little crazy out there, but at the same time, man, I played with a lot of emotions, right? It's a hockey game, and we fought a lot of adversity this year, you know, with a lot of injuries, a lot of call-ups, a lot of send-downs, a lot of stuff, right? And, you know, obviously it's all hard, you know, the management changes in NHL organization, but it affects us as well, right? So I think just those things, like probably I would say 4 weeks ago when we were looking at each other, and I was like, man, this is going to be tough. Like, we lost Crooker. You know, Crooker got hurt up there. We lost Heimer. Heimer got hurt up there. Shardsey was still recovering from his injury. We didn't know if we were going to get him at all. And you just think about all those guys, right? Like, they all have a big impact on our team. And but yeah, just I just felt like it was a lot of adversity, and we come over top of it, and it just felt special that we were able to, not have to worry about going Saturday in their building and trying to clinch the spot. Right, we did in front of our fans, and the building was buzzing. It was probably the best we've got a whole year. So it was just special for me, and I'm sure special for all the guys in that dressing room.
Yeah, and what makes it even more special, Igor, is you get to do it at home, like you mentioned. That's got to feel good. And up against a divisional rival in the Laval Rocket that have been nipping at your heels all season, trying to fight for that same playoff spot. Like, did the fact that you're at home and it's up against a heated rival kind of elevate that moment even more?
Absolutely. I mean, every game we played against them, it's a war zone out there, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of punches after whistles, slashes, and stuff like that, right? And so I just felt like it couldn't work out any better, right? Like, 5 minutes left, we get on a power play, and Belzy trusts us to go 5 forwards.
Yep.
In the moment, I looked at him. I said, 5 forwards. I said, what are you doing? I said, kind of crazy, but okay.
Is that something you had practiced much of, 5 forwards, or he's throwing you in?
The only time we go 5 forwards is a 5-on-3.
Okay.
But it was just a 5-on-4 regular power play, and he says, yeah, we're going 5-on-4, but we're going as a 5-on-3 unit, and you set up how you set up on 5-on-3.
Okay.
So it ended up being like Curry up top on the right side. I'm on the left side of my one-timer.
Yep.
And obviously Halliday and Pillon, they were working low in Chartier.
Yep.
And that's the play we drew up on 5-on-3, where Curry just kind of makes that little fake and slides it over to me, and then I one-time that's usually how we start the 5-on-3. And yeah, it worked out, and it just after that goal, I seen the puck going in the net, and just I knew it's 5 minutes left, and we're not gonna let them score.
Yep.
We're not gonna let them score. Like, I had zero regrets for what I've done. Right, it could have been one of those moments where I went stupid and they scored right back, but I knew that once I scored that goal, they're gonna go away, and I knew that they're gonna pull the goalie, and yeah, so. Like I said, I mean, I showed a lot of emotion in that goal, and I'm sure they were not probably pleased with that or whatever. But at the same time, I didn't disrespect nobody. You know what I mean? I was excited for my hockey team in front of my fans to clinch the spot in the playoffs. We had a lot of adversity. We fought a lot of battles whole year, and all I did is celebrate with my teammates. I celebrate with my fans, and yeah, we clinched the spot. I know it's not winning the Calder Cup. I know it's not winning a Stanley Cup, but at the same time, that's what we play for. Our season could have been over, right? Yeah. So to just, realizing that I was able to continue our season, that's my emotions, and they brought in 1,000, 1,200 fans probably from Laval were sitting in the stands, and they were yapping the whole game at me. I heard it all, and their team was yapping at me the whole game, and generally, I had nothing back. I was like, I'm just gonna hold it back and make you pay, and that's what I did, man. And at the end of the day, we're there not to fight. If you fight me and you're gonna beat me in the fight, it's not gonna win you a hockey game. I scored a goal and I finished you guys off. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the goals count, right? And if you want to fight me, I'm never gonna say to anyone that I'm the fighter, or you know what I mean. I'm gonna beat you up. I'm never gonna say that, because I just generally never properly fought that I'm going to be a fighter. It's not the way I'm going to make the difference in a hockey game. And if you want to fight me, I'm just going to make you pay the other way. You know what I mean? I'm just going to put the puck back in the net, and that's what I did.
His 20th and 21st goal of the season, Igor. We loved every second of it, and you're the perfect person to talk to, not only about the resiliency of this group as a whole, basically since COVID, when you came in, you played your first game in an empty Canadian Tire Center for Belleville. Like, that whole first season was so strange. Then you work your way, you're scoring at will, you lead the team in scoring, and now this year, your only game you did not play was because of your performance on Friday. You were able to take the night off on Saturday. You finished with 71 games in a 72-game season, and people who know the AHL know just how much of a grind that is, man. You're going on the bus overnight, your next game, next day. Like, speak on how intense an AHL season is.
Oh, I mean, honestly, knock on the wood, and then the last, 4 years I played in AHL, I missed only 2 games because of an injury. Knock on the wood for that, but I see a lot of guys going down on injuries, and I've seen what they go through, right? Like I've seen, obviously, we look at Crooker, like he had a really long-term injury. Like you just see how much a grind it is. We play a game on Wednesday at home, drive overnight, usually I would say the hardest ones we played, it was playing Friday in Belleville, let's say, finish the game at 9:30, get on a bus at 10:15 and drive to Laval, get there at 2 a.m., have to get up, play another game, drive back, get home Sunday morning at 2 a.m. That's 3 nights in a row where you get probably 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Because first of all, you get to your bed at 2 a.m. We just got at the rink. We unpacked our bags. You're wired. You think you're tired. You're wired awake. You probably fall asleep by 3:30. The next day is a game. Usually meeting starts by 10. You got to wake up, have some breakfast, do some kind of a movement, try to get your body a little bit warmed up, right? So like those little things, man, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is in this league, how hard of a grind it is. We don't, you don't get on the plane and fly for 45 minutes, in the business class seats. We're in the regular bus, driving, and, nobody feels bad for us, nobody feels bad for us. So, I was lucky enough to avoid any injuries and, kind of keep my body healthy the whole season. And obviously I wanted to finish the season with 72 games, but at the same time, I let a lot of emotions out on Friday night, right? And David came up to me and he's like, hey, if you want to do 72, you can do 72, but I don't want you to, because I know the people are going to be angry at you. I know they're probably going to try to hurt you. And, I just told him, you know what, there's a lot of guys in our dressing room right now that want to have an opportunity to play a hockey game, right? We got 4 or 5 guys who have not played lately. And for me to sit out to give them opportunity to play hockey, right? Like Pfizer, you know what I mean? He's played.
And then he scores.
Yeah, he played 25, 30 games this season, right? Like for him to just get another game under his belt. Peterson, get him another game under his belt, right? Like for me, it's more important to keep my teammates happy than rather keeping myself happy at this point of the season. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do, right? And I was happy enough to just see him put one in, and just guys have another game under their belt.
Yeah, team guy, Egor Sokolov. We love that about you, buddy. And you're a big part of this team's success since the moment you put a Belleville Senators jersey on. Now, this isn't Belleville's first postseason experience. Unfortunately, didn't go the way anyone wanted last time. But tell us a bit about how, and maybe it just feels this way for us or for myself, but this year's team feels different than last time this happened, right? Because it seemed like management really focused on bringing in veterans. And then you've got these, Peelsy, Garrett Peelon. He's been a huge part of this team.
Huge.
And then you're bringing in some young guys that are fresh, like Halliday, like our guy Pistol Pete. Like you've got a good mix of guys here. So from your experience, you've seen it all. What makes this team so successful, and what makes you believe that you guys can have a big year here?
I think the biggest thing is that a lot of guys realize what kind of a role they contribute to the team. You know what I mean? So I think there's no such a thing of, okay, if I'm third line player and I'm checking a whole night and and I'm just gonna play the way I can. They're not trying to go over top their heads, right? They found their role, and that's how we have success. The guys finding their roles. If you're running top power play, you're gonna run top power play. You don't go to. So for me, it's just the biggest thing that I think everybody accepted their jobs and their roles, and that's how we have our success.
And wouldn't you say like Cole Reinhardt's a great example of that? I was looking up when I saw you led the organization in games played, like seeing Cole Reinhardt, same draft as you. He's up at 225 games. Like you guys have 3 guys, and the third being Lassie, who are over 200 games with this same franchise. Like you guys have been building this ship for a little while here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for all 3 of us was kind of like, that's what I'm going to say. Like I couldn't see us just be I don't even know how to explain. Like I think for me personally, what I felt, I was like, we have to get in the playoffs. It's just one of those things. Like, we've been playing here for too long without getting kind of any excitement, right? Like, I mean, that series was over in no time. So, but I think just we all know what we are in this league at this point, and that's what makes us all successful, right? So, I think, and a lot of guys who came in kind of jumped on the same board, and obviously we have Dylan as our captain, who's that's the biggest role player you're gonna see. You know what you get out of Dylan Hedrickton every night. It's a leadership, and it's just a steady puck mover, blocking shots, hit, and you're not gonna see anything flashy about that guy. And he's accepted that role, and that's why he's captain in this league. And I'm pretty sure he won a Calder with Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. But you just know, and us. You think that we're young still, 23, but we all have over 200 pro games at this time, so that kind of gives the opportunity of the younger guys like Petey walking in and see like, okay, this guy's 23, but he's already played 250 pro games. Like, I'm at 250 something pro games right now over 3.5 years, right? So like, what he's doing right to be able to play that many games in that certain amount of time. So it's good opportunity for those guys to see what it is, the AHL, and how are you going to be successful in this league. So, but yeah, there's definitely something special about this group. Just a lot of new guys who came in from the free agency, and they just been huge contributing. Pilon, he won the cup last year. He knows what it takes. Curry has played so many games in this league. Boko, as tough as it gets. He just knows what he's gonna do every night. You're not putting Boca out there. You know what he's gonna give you. So yeah, I think that's the biggest part of it all.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Egor. We'll get right back to it. But first, a word from our friends at FanDuel.
Yes, it's playoff time, so you want to be ready and you want to get in on the action with FanDuel. It's the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it's the best place to place your NBA, NHL playoff bets. MLB is in full swing, and you want to head to FanDuel because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Ross, round one of the NHL playoffs has been absolutely crazy. You mentioned it, only home teams winning. So maybe you want to, you figure the road teams are due here. And tonight it's going to be another good slate of NHL games. So maybe mix in a couple dollars on some road dogs here to see if they get it done in game 2 of some series and game 1 of some other series. So check it out on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Need last-minute tickets to the hottest events? Go check out Game Time. I used Game Time last night to get into Game 1 between the Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets, and every single person that bought a ticket got a great deal because that was an unbelievable game. But my deal was even better because with Game Time, I monitored the prices, and right when they came down, about 45 hours before puck drop, bang, pulled the trigger. Great deal. Amazing view from the seats, 7 rows up from the ice, and I was paying basically third level prices with that because at Game Time, they always value you getting the last minute tickets. And it's not just for hockey. They've got all sports. You can go check out NBA playoffs. Baseball, always a good time to go last minute. Hey, what do you want to do? Go hang out at the park, eat some dogs? Game Time. That's where you go. Game Time. And because you're a listener of Locked On Senators, you can use our code Locked On NHL and get $20 off. That code is valid for all theater, comedy, sports. Locked On NHL, $20 off. So go check out Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices. How can you know it's the lowest price? Well, with Game Time, they've got the Game Time guarantee. So if you can show them the same price in the same section and the same row, Game Time will give you 110% of the difference. Their prices, they can't be beat, and it's always easy to transfer over. 2 taps, bang, Locked On NHL, $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Now back to our chat with Egor Sokolov. And it all starts on Wednesday. Belleville will host the Toronto Marlies at CAA Arena. Pilsy's bringing his pom-poms. He'll be there waving them, Egor, as you do your thing out there. Now, the Toronto Marlies, obviously a divisional team, which means you've seen them time and time again. 10 times this year, you guys have gone head-to-head. What's the battle within the battle? What storyline should we be following of what's happened this year between you guys?
Honestly, I feel like it's just always a rivalry. You know what I mean? It's Ontario against Ontario. And I think the biggest storyline is just for us to just don't fall in their trap, because they love to play with the puck, right? Like they love as of their NHL team, they're so skilled, right? So for us, we may have not same amount of skill. So how can we, avoid our turnovers? How can we, all these things. I think just the biggest thing is just to play the way we've been playing lately. I'm pretty sure that last time we went 8-2, and that one game against Rush, we lost 8-2, but we had 5 defensemen playing that game. We got 3 of our top 6 defensemen out of the lineup. It's just tough to ask to be like, okay, we're gonna win. And you have Rochester as the most powerful offense in our division. So I think that's the biggest thing. But I don't think there's any storylines. I think it's just for us to just bring our compete level every night and just bring the game that we can, we know we can play, and just don't fall in their traps.
Yeah, I think that's how you guys can be successful as well. And you've been successful as of late. You kind of touched on it there at the end of the year. You had a big stretch. So final question for me here, Egor, and this has been awesome having you. We love having you back on the show. I'm looking from that game in spring against Springfield on April 5th. Since then, you pull off a 4-game win streak. You have that one stinker up against Rochester, but then you get it going against Syracuse, which was a huge shootout win. Yeah. And then obviously the weekend in Laval goes your way. How important do you think it is for you guys to kind of, sure, it's not playoff hockey, but it has that same intensity. Like every game mattered. You're going up against division rivalries. Like, how important do you think it is for you guys to have that pressure on you and still be able to thrive and succeed leading into playoffs? Like, that's got to be a big boost for your competitive edge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's huge, man. You playing meaningful hockey, 10, 15 games before playoffs actually starts? Like, that's huge. That's that every inch of the ice matters, right? So that's what I feel like that was good for our group, that we had to battle for so long, right? Like, I feel like just getting on that run 8-2, and we played against Syracuse. We played them, and it's not like Syracuse was not playing too. Like they generally had to beat us so they can clinch the number 1 spot, right? Like they didn't want to just like, okay, we're gonna go away, whatever. It doesn't matter for us. Like they're trying to clinch a spot so they don't have to be in the 3rd or 2nd, because the standings are so tight. I'm pretty sure like today everything can change. Today Rochester or Cleveland can end up being in the 1st still.
Yeah, they're 1 point behind.
So that's what I'm saying. Like playing against these and obviously games against Laval, you knew that both teams are gonna bring. So that's that's just huge. That's prepare you for how you have to win. Prepare you how playing meaningful games. It's the same thing as Florida last year in NHL. They've been playing the meaningful games like 10 games before season even ended, right? And they just walk in and play against Boston. The Boston didn't play any meaningful games for probably a month already at that point. So that's where you realize like, okay, like this guy's been playing playoff hockey for 10, 15 games already. They know what they have to do, and you kind of caught off guard. So I think that's huge for a group overall. Just be prepared, and just how much every puck matters, how much every turnover matters, how much how every decision with the pack matters. So I thought that's where we all grew as a group. Just overall, like, obviously that one game stinker against Roch where we just, didn't have it that night. And, but last 10, we barely give up any goals against, right? So, which is huge.
You talked about the power play. It came through clutch for you in that clincher against Laval on Friday night, and you brought home the tying goal there. But again, that's all you needed. Got the win. You also need goaltending when you're in the playoffs. How's Mads looking? That's my final question. As a goalie-friendly show, Igor, we couldn't let you go without asking about the attendees.
Mads looking as good as he ever looked. That's all I'm gonna say, man. I'm not gonna jinx anything else. Just gonna say
Nice.
he looks good as that he's ever looked. I've been his teammate for 3.5 years now, and he's just as good as it gets. That's it.
Okay,
Not gonna jinx anything.
give me an X factor then. Who's a guy who maybe the average fan doesn't know down in Belleville that could have a big series? Because that Bon Giovanni guy's come in and he just can't stop scoring.
He could be a wild
Huge.
card. He's as hot as it gets. I
Yeah.
think he can. He is a per goal scorer. Yeah, he could. Obviously, everybody else besides him pretty much, and obviously Halliday he can make a huge impact because has a lot of talent. So, but yeah.
Would you say that Halliday's? Would you say he's a disher?
Oh yeah. I mean, I already told him many times, man. You got to shoot the puck too. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you shoot the puck and it comes off the pad and somebody else taps it in, it's still an assist.
Yep.
Well, Egor, hey, you want to do this again in about a week?
Hopefully, I'm in a good mood then.
Hey, you got positive Pilsy in the stands on
Love
Wednesday.
Love it.
You know, it'll be a great start to the series, and we're excited, man. First 10 minutes, everyone just set the tone and take it home from there.
I'm excited, man. It's just at the end of the day, this is what we play for, playoffs, right? And I'm just generally really, really, really happy that we're here. We have 3 days to prepare and ready to go.
That's our emotion every time we see Egor Sokolov back with us on Locked On Senators. Great to see you smiling, brother. Looking forward to seeing you do your thing in the postseason. Hey, what's your Starbucks order? Is that like a double venti? What the hell is that thing?
It's as big as it gets usually. Yeah, venti cold brew. Just cold brew and a little splash of oat milk for me.
Do you get the nitro cold brew? Do you see those ones they have at Starbucks? Only at some stores.
Sometimes before games if I feel like I need a little bit extra, but usually just simple cold brew with just a little bit of oat milk and I'm ready to go.
Pilsy, he needs extra sometimes in a venti cold brew.
Yeah, hey, that's the making of a champion right there.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Pilsy, stick taps to our guy Egor for joining us. I feel like it was just great to see him. It had been so long. I didn't want to bother him during the year. I can only imagine how difficult times have been seeing other guys around him getting called up. Egor doesn't get any call-ups this year, but we wanted to keep it positive into the playoffs. And man, this is where you can make your next contract that much more important and have leverage, is coming through clutch like he did on Friday.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Egor just is a good soldier for this organization. He doesn't get pouty about it. He just says, all right, if I'm going to be down here in Belleville, I'm going to make a difference. And he scores those 2 huge goals. He shows the fans that I'm basically, Igor's like, are you not entertained? Like that's the vibe he was giving after he scored those goals. And we love having Egor on the show. He's just an absolute beauty. So every time he's on the show, it's a great episode. So hope you guys enjoyed that interview.
Little Egor Sokolov trivia for you, Pilsy, here with 180 points. He is the Belleville Sens all-time leading points getter, and it's not even close. Yeah. He has 64 more points than Drake Batherson. Obviously, a few more games played, but that is an enormous leap. So I want to ask you, let's include the Binghamton Senators going all the way back to 2003, 2002,
Bingo.
Where Egor Sokolov rank among Sens farm team totals in that span. If he has 180 points, where do you think that would fit in?
Well, I mean, you got to look at even the games played. Like in Belleville, he's got 240 games played with Belleville, so that's a lot of time.
I'll tell you that would put him 12th among all Belleville and Binghamton Senators.
12th. Okay, I thought that would have knocked him in the top 10. Egor's got to be top 5 in points. I'll say that confidently. Top 5.
He is number 4.
Ooh,
slightly ahead of Jason Spezza. Now
that's crazy.
Spezza's points per game was outrageous. Jason Spezza had 171 points in 123 games in the AHL.
Wow,
bit of a joke. And then right below him, it was Mike Hoffman with 169 in 242. So that's like pretty close to the pace, that Egor's on. Egor at a 0.75 points per game. Hoffman was 0.70.
Wow.
Number 3 was Cole Schneider. Number 2, Josh Hennessy. And everyone probably knows the answer here. Denis Hamel is number 1. Denis Hamel scored 203 goals in the AHL. Egor has 180 points.
Yeah, he was looking like he was going to be an absolute stud when he had his chance in the NHL. Unfortunately, the transition wasn't as seamless as Sens fans would have hoped.
No, it wasn't. But still, a little piece of trivia there for you. Pilsy, let's wrap up talking a little playoff hockey.
Yes.
Obviously, I was boots on the ground last night for what I don't even think bias has any play in it. It was the most entertaining game so far.
Easily. I mean, and look, I feel like people in the media have been sleeping on this series. Like, obviously everyone talks about the Toronto series, and then obviously people are excited about Vegas reigning Stanley Cup champion.
What happened in that Toronto game Saturday? I missed it.
The Bruins feasted.
Nice.
Those are some full bears, but they're going to go up against them tonight. We'll see if the Leafs can bounce back here, but I knew this Jets Avalanche series was going to be one of the best, if not the best series. Like 7-6 in game 1. Save some goals for the rest of the series, guys. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it was 3-3 after the first period with 3 late lead changes. 1-0 Colorado, 2-1 Winnipeg, and then 3-2 Colorado, and then Winnipeg answers right back. So it was unreal to be in the building for that. And again, shout out Game Time. Those were unreal seats. And I mean, just to be in a playoff atmosphere, it really made me miss Ottawa even more, and just like how electric the CTC can get. So yeah, hey, we got a Sens abroad goal in that game too. Vlad Nemestikov off a turnover, bang, back of the net. So that was awesome to see as well. And it's just been great hockey so far. Nothing like 12 hours sitting on the couch on a Sunday watching 4 games, perfectly staggered. And tonight it will be similarly staggered, considering it's a weeknight. So it'll be 7 o'clock, 7:30, 9:30, and 10 o'clock Eastern. So I like that.
Well done, NHL schedulers. Finally, they're figuring this out.
Yeah, it only took, 10 years of the TV deal. It's in its last year. They're like, hey, what if we make sure that each game is center stage for a little while? That'd be cool.
Yeah, now I do get it a little bit from the TV side. You're like, well, we got these intermission, reports that we want people to tune into. We don't want people clicking away, but eventually the NHL was like, what are we doing? Like, people want hockey. They like, all respect to the intermission people. Most of them do a good job, but we want to watch hockey.
That's all we want to do. And a part of watching good hockey in Ottawa is going to come down to the draft lottery. Pilsy, it's set officially. The season's over. It's still sad to say. But we are now going to do one spin at the end of every show until the lottery balls fall. We believe it's May 5th or 6th. Nothing official yet. We're going to do one spin for Pilsy, one spin for me, and one spin for the citizens at the end of every show. And we are going to keep track and see if we nail the majority for the NHL
Second
draft
overall
lottery.
pick.
Pilsy spin. Was that your spin, or was that too quick? Was that rude?
No, that was my spin. I'll take it.
Okay, so you've got Ottawa 7th. That's all we care about is where Ottawa
I don't
is.
hate it.
Ottawa 7th. It was 2 Western Conference teams that flipped. My spin, Minnesota jumps up 10 spots, which means Ottawa down to 8th. So we got 1-7 and 1-8. Let's go, citizens.
Minnesota deserves that.
There we go.
Okay. Yep. Here we go.
So the citizens come through clutch. Ottawa drafting 2nd overall. 1st overall pick goes to San Jose. This is like a perfect draft lottery for you, Pilsy.
Lev Shunov, here we go.
All right. Pilsy, any final thoughts from you on today's show?
Final thoughts for me. As I mentioned, my plan is to go to game 1 of the Belleville Senators series. Tickets are on sale at noon today. By the time you're listening to this, it's probably getting up to that time. So get ready on your computers, on your phones, on your laptops, on your iPads. Get ready at noon to go get tickets. I want to see as many Sens fans as we can there, because the Toronto Marlies, Ross, we know
they travel well.
Belleville is deep in Toronto territory, so we got to get as many Sens fans there as possible. So join me in going to CEA Arena, and let's give Egor Sokolov and the rest of the team some support.
Shout out to the Belleville Sens. More to come on that front. David Foote will join us later this week. Hope to have David Bell, the head coach, as well, and a whole lot more. We'll also get back to the Ottawa Senators. Mark Mathot will join us later on this week, working on a few other great guests to join us as we lead into draft season, which starts officially on LOSP on May 13th. But for today, we say goodbye. Thanks so much for listening. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.